And it's Friday, just like that, 27 degrees in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Good morning and welcome. Thank God it's Friday. And the weather is lovely in the nation's capital. I'm Kayla Megwa.
Well, we're taking you to a place where the weather is equally just as lovely, perhaps even more lovely. We're taking you to a place in the northeast of Nigeria, Taraba State specifically. And, well, this stadium, which you're looking at, called the Jolinyame Stadium in Taraba, a 30,000-seater, we understand, used to be the pride of the northeast region. We understand it was the best stadium around 4 miles. But in recent times, it does appear that it could do with a little more attention. We understand it is home to Taraba FC, so to all those who love football across the country, this is the home of the football club of Taraba State.
I saw a headline 2 weeks ago, it was a write-up from The Guardian a few weeks ago, where they were talking about how this stadium had become a grazing ground for cows. You know, it's quite disappointing, that happened. Named after their former governor, and of course a place that has a lot of potential and one that should actually be looked at and made to be very functional, considering how much people love Taraba FC and the amount of sports people in Taraba State love. But you know, Taraba has been in the news. We were actually live in Taraba yesterday because the First Lady was there.
Indeed.
A meeting with the monarchs in Taraba State. And then, of course, the idea is to seek support on health interventions. She actually presented a 50 million naira check to the Taraba State government for 1,000 women. And the idea, she says, is to tackle preventable diseases in the place. Taraba State, 170 of the healthcare centers in Taraba State actually receive funds from the basic healthcare provision fund, and that's something that the governor was very excited about yesterday.
Yeah, you know,
a lot of funding going into healthcare in Taraba State this season.
The First Lady has been going around the different geopolitical zones of the country, you know, giving out this 10,000 kits to each geopolitical zone, you know, to support health development, healthcare in those areas. So Taraba just happened to be one of the beneficiaries to that. So there was a whole retinue of things that she did yesterday, including that meeting with traditional rulers, which you mentioned. But the highlight really was given what they call scrubs and crocs.
Kits for the nurses.
Yeah, the kits, but it was called scrubs and I think essentially it comprises scrubs and crocs, you know, to make sure that the nurses are properly kitted up. So Taraba State in the skyline this morning, you can see it. But the roads look very beautiful. I'm hoping that the governor, Agbu Kefas, will also pay a little more attention to the stadium and perhaps make it once more the pride of the northeastern region.
Indeed, indeed.
Well, while we've been to Taraba, and I would like to stay there a little, but we also have quite a number of other issues to look at this morning, and what is happening with the Labour Party will be one of it. We'll also be going down to Rivers State to pay a little more attention to what the sole administrator has been up to. We understand he's been appointing, and the appointments that he's made have caused a bit of controversy. Appointing local government chairman, appointing a new board for the Rivers State Electoral Commission. All of these have not particularly gone down well. There's been argument here and there. Does he have the powers to do so? Even the National Assembly at this point has also waded in to say, Mr. Governor, beg your pardon, Mr. Sole Administrator, you seem to be going out of your reach. You cannot make laws. You have to consult the National Assembly to make laws for the people of Rivers State since the State House of Assembly has been suspended. All of this, which is still in contention. But these are some of the matters which we'll be going to in just a moment. So please stay with us.
however regrettable that certain actors, most notably Senator Nanadi Usman, who ironically is not a member of our party, and Delitu Nuo Kocha, have chosen to misrepresent the ruling, deliberately misleading the public and attempting to manufacture confusion through a purported caretaker committee. Let it be stated categorically that the so-called committee is both unconstitutional and illegitimate. Let it be known within the Federation and beyond that there is no vacuum in the leadership of Labour Party.
Well, that was Mr. Julius Abure, the national chairman of the Labour Party. His position right now is in contention because quite a number of people, I mean, a significant portion of the people in his party do not agree that he is their chairman. They recognize instead the caretaker committee that they have put in place. And he was addressing addressing the press in the aftermath of the Supreme Court judgment, which he says affirms his position as the chairman of the Labour Party. Well, the National Executive Council meeting of the Labour Party held, and he wasn't there. And, you know, there were calls that he should sheath his sword and join them. But he continues to insist that he is the chairman of the Labour Party. Well, this morning we're looking at that issue and a host of other issues with Mr. Laolu Akonde, who is a former presidential spokesperson. Mr. Akonde, it's good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you guys.
Good morning, Mr. Laolu.
These are some of the issues we saw play out during the week. That of the Labour Party was right there on the front burner. We heard Mr. Julius Abure, first of all, warning Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, not to convene any National Executive Council meeting. But not only did they go ahead to convene it, almost anybody who was anybody in the Labour Party was at that National Executive Council meeting. Subsequently, we saw them proceed to INEC to give INEC a certified true copy of the judgment of the Supreme Court, which they say affirms their stance, rejecting Mr. Julius Abure as the national chairman. How do you see this being resolved?
Well, I mean, I think that first and foremost, it's important to speak to Mr. Julius Abure that he is required at this moment to show a bit of charity. You know,
charity.
Charity, yeah, which is a very unusual thing to ask a politician. But for the good of this country, Labour Party at a point represented a significant hope. You know, don't worry whether the presidential candidate went as much as he wanted to, but Labour Party showed that something new can brew out of this country in terms of politics. You saw a new and a vibrant mobilization of the people. It's good for our country. Now, since then and now, we've seen how all of that is beginning to unravel. But what has happened this last week is a renewal of hope in the Labour Party. But Mr. Julius Abure is the only obstacle. And of course, you know, people around him who don't really, just like you said, they don't form the significant essence of the party. Everybody that mattered in that party seemed to have gotten the right memo. Look, the time for Julius Abure is over. Now, if you come to the legal part of it, it was Julius Abure that went to court to stop INEC and the party, you know, from not recognizing him anymore because his tenure had elapsed. Yeah. And so the matter proceeded from the High Court to the Appeal Court, and now the Supreme Court has said it is not our business. So that means the matter has reverted to where it was when Mr. Abure went to court, which is that he is no longer the chair of the party. So it's just a question of time that Mr. Julius Abure is going to fizzle out. What I'm asking him today is to show a bit of charity.
When you say charity, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, to just do the right thing, keep his the remainder of his honor. He can keep it so that he can exit in some dignified sense.
Yeah, but that will be showing himself a bit of charity, not the party.
I agree. You know, that's the point. You know, certainly that's what I'm saying, because it's very clear already.
We heard Governor Oti talk about the fact that he had exhausted all kinds of attempts to get Julius Abure to, you know, start to play ball with the party and everything. I want to be able to get your thoughts on why he would be holding on to power, listening to everything everyone has said. One of the things that he said that particularly made me sad was, why would you want to rule over people who don't want you to rule them? So why do you think he's holding on so tightly?
Well, okay, now, so I will address the fact that we want him to behave charitably in a way that is not the usual thing. You must understand also that Julius Abure also represents the typical Nigerian politician. So it's not that Julius Abure is behaving out of context. This is how the average Nigerian politician behaves. Personal aggrandizement. That's the only reason why Abure is still playing all these tactics. He still wants to be there because that is what suits him. That is what he wants to do. That is what he considers to be the best thing for him. And that's why we're saying that, look, ultimately, you cannot, to your point, if you think you are leading people and there are no followers behind you, you are just taking a walk in the park. That is what is going to happen to Julius Abure. But we are saying that there is still an opportunity. Do yourself a bit of good by just rallying around the other people and say, how can we save the party? Why must you be a sit-tight chairman of the party after your tenure has elapsed? For God's sake, somebody needs to do Julius Abure a bit of good and call him to his side and say that, look, come on, Labour Party is greater than you.
I just want to know how this is going to be resolved, because the Labour Party is not leaving it to chance. They have taken their message to INEC and say, look, INEC, we no longer recognize him as our chairman. This is a Supreme Court judgment, and we want you to effect that leadership change in your recognition of who we say is our own party chairman. How do you think INEC will play?
I think INEC is going to do, you know, what is common sense. The Supreme Court's ruling is very clear. You know, I was watching PoliticsToday yesterday, you know, and Shane was reading out, you know, we could see it, you know, I mean, and you could go and read this stuff. It's very clear that Supreme Court has rejected the chairmanship of
Julius Abure.
Julius Abure initiated the case, you know, and it has gone to the point, and INEC, the Supreme Court has ruled clearly that there is no merit, that, look, let Labour Party go and sort out itself. And then Julius Abure comes around and say that, Nenadi is not a member of the party. Oti was a member of the NACC. The NACC is the highest ruling organ of the party after the convention. Abure is the chairman, and what Abure controls really is the National Working Committee.
The NWC.
Yes, which is under the NACC. So it's the convention, the NACC, and then the NWC. Oti and Obi, they used the fact that their membership in NACC to decide that Esther Nanadi will be the acting chairman, caretaker chairman, at a time that Julius Abure's tenure has elapsed. It's a very simple thing. Abure has considered himself to an obstacle. Supreme Court has said that you cannot be an obstacle, and yet he still has the audacity to go out and be talking the way. So I just don't understand.
Do you see external influences here?
It's not impossible. It's not impossible that...
It's not Julius Abure. There's also Mr. Papa, who's also speaking up and saying he's also chairman.
Well, you know, yeah, he is the deputy chairman, but their tenure has elapsed. You know, there are other members, if you look at the case very well, there are other members of the NACC who are still in office. The duration of their tenure is still persisting, okay? But Abure's tenure has elapsed. Akpankpa's tenure has elapsed. You know, and so
political forces outside pushing this?
Well, we don't have any evidence, but, you know, we will rule it out. You know, but let's just talk to Abure and say, look, help Nigeria, Abure. You can, you know, because Labour Party properly organized brings a bit of fresh air. We saw it the last time. Why is Abure constituting himself into an obstacle?
Big question. But let us move on very swiftly now to Rivers, which is where we see another major controversy. This week, the sole administrator did not seem to be shying away from it. He decided to appoint 23 local government administrators, like himself, sole administrators. And Zamila said, look, you were appointed sole administrator. We're still debating just how constitutional that is. And then you go ahead to appoint local government. And then this is in light of a Supreme Court judgment saying that, you know, local governments should be headed by elected local government chairmen and that funds should not be given to any, you know, caretaker committee that is appointed by anybody. So there are big questions around what is happening in Rivers State and the constitutionality of it all. Yeah,
it's honestly, you don't even know where to start because the action of the president is unconstitutional. The National Assembly that is meant to try and, you know, sort it out, you know, did it in a very shoddy manner. Okay, so we are left with a fait accompli of some sort. President says that, look, I can't sit down. The National Assembly, which has the powers to say, okay, Mr. President, calm down. Also, they said, no, no, please go ahead. And then chose to do it in a very brazen violation of the Constitution in our very eyes. They put it to our eyes that, look, it doesn't matter. We do it the way we want to do it. Now, the ball now moves to the court of Admiral Abbas. And you will expect that he would be advised, you know, just like a proverb in my language, that if you are sent an errand of slavery, you deliver the message as a freeborn. So let's even assume that, look, everything is messy as we have seen, but okay, they said that it's okay. The National Assembly said that we approve it. The president said I must do it. The administrator should conduct himself in a way that can soften the situation. What he's doing right now, I imagine that, yes, he has to take steps, but it's not, it's not as careful as it could be, even in the circumstances. It's not as careful as it should be.
Would he be taking decisions without the president? When this sole administratorship was created,
yes,
he was to take his instructions from the president.
Yes.
So the president is basically overseeing his actions. Would these actions be without the president's knowledge?
Well, you know, I don't think that the president, you know, based on what we know, is going to be monitoring him on a daily basis.
For something as crucial as local government administrators.
Yeah, I don't think, you know, what I'm saying is that he has enough space and leverage to handle things. You know, I mean, it's a military man. Look, our military institution is one of the best in this country in terms of their training, in terms of their experience, even in terms of the comportment. You know, when you see an average senior officer, you see a bit of discipline, you see a bit of, you know, so I would expect him to conduct these affairs in a very subtle, very soft, in a way that rallies everybody, try to build consensus, rather than be just doing things. For instance, we know in this country that even when military governors were in place, okay, and they can't have local government, they use the most senior civil servant in the local government to run the affairs. We have done it in this country over and over again. What is the use of you going to appoint administrators when we have that experience? That institutional memory is still there. You could use the director of administration, you know, who normally is the highest, civil servant in local government, to run the place. It has been done over and over again, and they are competent. So we need to advise Mr. Abbas that, look, you can do this thing with a lot of care. If they have asked you to deliver a message of slavery, you owe it to yourself and to your own reputation to deliver it as a freeborn.
Big issues, I mean, because in Rivers State, there are those who argue, well, and I think the MBA has also made this point. As a matter of fact, there's a mild protest of sorts. They have moved the venue of their conference now to Enugu instead of Rivers State, which was supposed to hold it initially, because they say they cannot hold it in an environment where they have held that what has happened in that state is unconstitutional. So it would seem that they're giving it some sort of endorsement by holding their conference there, but they moved it now to another state. Now, I'm wondering now, looking at, you know, not just the appointments that he has made, the general governance situation in Rivers, would you say that his appointment has had any effect? I think, let me track back a little. There are those who say that the appointment that was done and also the fact that a state of emergency was declared suspends democratic norms in that state. And so we cannot be expecting that, some things will follow democratic attitudes or would follow democratic nuances, as the case might be, and that he is well within his rights to make these appointments. Do you agree with them? Do you see any reason there?
Well, you know, so yes, you know, he's the administrator of the state. He has the mandate of the president and the National Assembly to be there. So yes, you know, so he has to run the place. So we shouldn't contest that.
No, not just the mandate now, but the fact that when a state of emergency is declared in a state, it does mean that some rights and privileges have been suspended.
Oh yes, of course. We have to consider that, you know, even though we have, you know, ab initio, a very serious fundamental disagreement about what had happened. We don't believe that the president has the powers. We don't believe that the National Assembly that does have the powers and do this properly.
Yeah, and they don't believe also that they had gotten to the situation where you had to declare that in the first instance.
Exactly. But having said all of that, well, the man is there. He has been given the job. He should do it, and he's going to have to make some appointments. What we are saying is that, you know, he should understand that the way the people of Rivers are beginning to talk about this thing is like an injustice has been done them. And I agree with them. The people of Rivers State have been treated unjustly. And any time that justice is not the center point of governance, it is a big problem. Look, I mean, this is one of the things that I learned being in government for 8 years. You could be doing a lot of things. You could be building infrastructure. You could be doing big social investment. If the people feel that they are being treated, there is no justice, every other thing you do doesn't matter. Because justice is at the center of our humanity. So if the people of Rivers State feel that they've been treated unjustly by the president and the National Assembly, then every other thing doesn't matter. And that's why people have said that, look, Mr. President, you can still reverse this thing. There is still good time. I don't understand how even the political advisors of the president will suggest to him that even if you want to take over Rivers, this is how to do it. I don't understand.
Speaking of political advisors, you heard about the resignation of Mr. Hakim Baba Ahmed? Did you make anything of it?
The vice president's advisor.
Political advisor.
Well, you know, I think that Baba Ahmed, if you look at his history very well, I was even surprised that he came into government.
That he took the job in the first place.
You know, Baba Ahmed was one of the harshest critics of an APC government. You know, so to even see him take that, I thought that was below, you know, but hey, you know, he's a Nigerian, he chose to take it. So I would think that him leaving is a signal, you know, of maybe him returning to where he belonged. You know, I think he gave the idea a chance, and it doesn't seem to be working. That's how I'm going to interpret it. And the man just said, you know what?
Back to River, I can't stop thinking about the fact that this sole administrator cannot be acting in a vacuum. I can't get over that thought in my head, because the appointment of sole administrators for the local government, that's a very critical aspect. It was one of the biggest bones of contention in this whole situation. For him to make this decision, and I want to get your thought, you said the president would not be monitoring him back to back. For something like this, is it possible that the president doesn't know or didn't give the instruction for this to happen? Because it's one of the most important issues in this matter.
Okay, good.
I can't believe personally that the sole administrator would make this decision without the president being aware. Okay,
so Kela, let me explain, how the corridors of power operate. I mean, you were in the villa also with us. A lot of things get done in the name of the president. Okay. That ultimately the president may not be the one instigating it. But what you then find out is that the president, depending on how he thinks about it, may decide to do as if he didn't see it. Or if he really feels that it's not something that he approves, then he withdraws it. So it is possible. So
that's the issue. That's the reason why they believe that people online at least believe that he knows that this is going on. Because if he didn't want it, by now there would have been something said by the presidency. Oh no, we don't accept this. But nothing is being said.
Well, you're very good point. But let's see. The president has been away on a retreat. So let's see what happens, because there's quite a bit of clamor, and there are those who still believe that the president will probably, see reason. I know some of his very closest aides, some of his closest allies, who don't agree with this thing and who told him that he shouldn't do it. So I think the president himself is trying to sort this thing out, and hopefully I am still praying, because I don't understand why, and people say, oh, Basanjo even did worse. Yes, but, Basanjo and Tinubu, they have different pedigrees in Nigeria's politics. And it will be utterly disappointing if Tinubu, does worse than Obasanjo. That would be utterly disappointing.
Well, certainly left there for the president's, legacy writers to ponder and perhaps advise accordingly. Mr. Laolo Akonde, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise.
Thanks so much.
Well, we'll take a break about this point, and then we'll be talking very shortly about tariffs. And yes, you're very much aware that the United States has slammed tariffs on almost every country that does business with it. Nigeria is one of them, even though right now there is a 90-day pause. But what does the Nigeria-U.S. Chamber of Commerce make of it? Details in just a moment. Please stay with us. Appeared. That was Mrs. Ahunna Ezeakoa, who is the UN Assistant Secretary General and also the UNDP Regional Director for Africa, who had a sit-down with our colleague Amarachi Ubani, and she also, in that interview, spoke about the effect of the Trump tariffs on Africa and also Nigeria specifically. We're asking, where are the industries? Well, this morning we have joining us in our studios in Lagos, the president of the Nigeria American Chamber of Commerce, Alhaji Sharif Balogun. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Alquia. Thank you for having me. Good morning. Thank you, Alquia. Thank you for having me.
I was about to say, what an incident, happening just at the time when Nigeria and America are supposed to be celebrating how many years of doing business, but the chamber is celebrating 65 years of doing business. Did this have were you afraid that this could have a dampener effect on the celebrations?
Well, thank you very much. Actually, it's interesting times, and I've had people ask me about this. I'm coming in as the 20th president of the chamber, which is going to happen at inaugural dinner tomorrow, and then which is also coinciding with the 65th anniversary of the chamber. And hopefully that will not have a dampening effect on the celebrations. It's been 65 years of bilateral relationship that's been mutually beneficial.
But of course, we're in interesting times. The tariff has effects on worldwide trade. Also, certainly, it will have effects on Africa. It will also have effects on Nigeria. But how do we navigate this is probably what we have to think about, what we have to do, and what lessons to be learned from it going forward, what should we be doing. So I think this is what it is presently.
So yes, tell us a bit more about the celebrations, because I believe that regardless of all that is happening, you have chosen to celebrate. So tell us some of the things that you'll be highlighting in the celebrations that are coming up, the 65th anniversary of the establishment of the Nigerian American Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, thank you so much. Like I said, it's going to be a 5-in-1 event, actually. First is the inauguration of the 20th president, which is myself. And then we're going to also be celebrating some distinguished Nigerians, organizations that have contributed towards the bilateral trade and also the Nigerian economy as a whole. And we'll also be unveiling a 3D of our new proposed headquarters of the Nigerian American Chambers of Commerce. And then, of course, looking at issues and companies that have contributed to Nigeria's America relationship, and there are quite a number of them, what they have done, what they are doing, and then how the American Chamber of Commerce also is going to continue to be the foremost bilateral chamber of commerce, and how also we're going to continue to find new ways, new partnership to increasing the trade between Nigeria and the U.S. Currently, our trade relationship in terms of figures with the U.S. stands at about $10 billion. Of course, in favor of Nigeria, we have a deficit. I mean, the U.S. has a trade deficit with us, but we're looking at how we'll present a win-win situation in terms of products, activities that will continue to increase the trade between Nigeria and the U.S. So for us, the achievements over the past 65 years is one that is welcome, and we'll definitely celebrate this, and hoping that will also propel the next stage and moving on beyond $10 billion and targeting much bigger figures.
Mr. Balogun, you have told us about the highlights of what will be happening for the 65th anniversary. What I was hoping you'd highlight is some of the things that the Chamber of Commerce has been able to achieve over the last 65 years. What can Nigerians say, oh, this has been the result of having this Chamber of Commerce, and these are the benefits of keeping it and, you know, making it grow even stronger?
Yes. Okay, we've had a diverse way of promoting these activities over the past 65 years. And like I have said, our figures, our export figures have increased because we have brought in our members, you know, to know what the U.S. requirements and markets are, have provided training on certification to be able to access this market. We have done business-to-business partnership, trade missions to the U.S., advocacy with various U.S. organizations, and who provide different kind of services like the USTDA, the USAID, the FDA, and that has ensured that our members and also the public, those who have reached out to us in you know, providing these services to ensure that they get the service, they understand the market, and then of course we see it in the increased agricultural value of exports to the U.S. In the area of also textile. Also, we've seen our textiles going into the U.S. and the creative sector also. Recently, we hosted some of those who have made impact in the creative sector, and that's been part of the efforts of the Chamber in bringing and celebrating them, ensuring that people get to know the opportunities in those sectors that are there. We've had various workshops on AGOA. We've played a prominent role in AGOA and ensuring that people or the companies understand what those are, how to take advantage of that scheme. And we have some success stories of companies that have been able to take part to using that AGOA scheme. We've also been involved back in ensuring that we get the AGOA renewed. But of course, with this new tariff regime, that has upended that. But of course, it's on pause for 90 days. But however, like I said, it's something that we have to look beyond, see how we can do value addition, provide finished product and not just primary raw material. And the chamber has been doing a lot in training companies to ensure that they do value addition and then finding the particular markets that will absorb those value-added products that they produce. So this journey is one that we've had testimony from our members whose trade volumes have increased, and we will continue to do so. And I think there's value in what we're doing, and we'll continue to do that.
Mr. Balogun, I mean, congratulations, 20th president. I'll be trying to get what your legacy project is going to be, you know, for your time in office. But before that, let's take a look at these tariffs by the Trump administration. And you've been talking about the opportunities that these tariffs present to the Nigerian people. One of the few things I've heard you talk about is diversifying our exports. Just to get your thoughts on these opportunities that abound and how the Nigerian government can make the best of the situation.
Yeah, well, certainly. The tariff presents an opportunity, especially for us in the agricultural sector, in the solid mineral sector, where we have advantage. We have a lot of energy minerals, minerals like lithium, cobalt, tantalum, manganese. And these are critical minerals that are needed in the energy sector. You call them energy minerals. So it provides an opportunity for us to look at. Our tariff level is at 14%. So if we add value to what we have and are able to export this, we'll have advantage over countries whose tariffs are much higher than what we have, and those are some of the countries that are exporting these critical minerals to the U.S. And so that gives us a comparative advantage. Agriculture, for one, which provides a large employment for us, and we're blessed with arable land that we have a lot of agri products that are needed. What we need to do is to add value to this, you know, get them into finished products and semi-finished products and take advantage of that. Now, also saying 14%, of course, that is something as well, but, you know, we can negotiate, just like other countries are making the approach to negotiate. Our trade deficit with the U.S. is not so much, so it gives us room to be able to negotiate and have a balanced and win-win trade situation. We can also collaborate in, you know, setting up cross-border processing for some of the products that we have here. We can send them in there, process, re-export, and then, you know, take advantage of that. Mexico supplies a lot of agricultural products to the U.S., and you can see the tariff level that is it's pretty high, very high. So with what we have now, all we need to do is step up our game and be able to move into that gap that will be created as a result of what is happening between U.S. and Mexico. You look at Vietnam, where they've imposed tariff as high as 68%. There are areas, products there that Nigeria has, that Vietnam has, that we can take advantage of that also and enter into the markets. But generally, it's a wake-up call for us also to look at what we are doing holistically, see how we'll be able to make our export more competitive, provide the right infrastructure, and if that is in place, power, good roads, logistic, our ports services, ensuring that we can get our products into the ports at the right time to be able to meet shipments, the deadlines and all of that. So those are some of the areas that we need to improve on and then take advantage of what this tariff regime presents to us. And then, of course, also, it also tells us that we need to look at, in processing even some of the goods or exporting them, we have to develop internal consumptions, because if you have a situation where you've processed or you have goods that you're exporting, and then, you know, you have barriers to exporting it to those countries, what are they doing with it? We have to look at how do we develop internal consumptions. And developing our internal consumption, Nigeria is a huge market in itself. And some of this product, and I can give specific example of cocoa, for example. The cocoa sector is huge. Several billions in terms of the complete value chain. But what Nigeria is earning from it by exporting just raw cocoa beans is insignificant compared to the whole value chain of the export. So, but if we have a culture of consumption in Nigeria, which other countries have done, you will probably even have to have a reversed situation. Probably we need to even import cocoa pods to be able to process and provide cocoa. And cocoa powder, cocoa drink can be integrated into the school feeding programs, which provides nutrition, the valued and needed nutrition to our children and the population. So we have to look at both. You're looking at the export, you're also looking at developing internal capacity to consume, and then, of course, that means we must have purchasing power. So we have to look at it holistically to be able to provide and take advantage of what this has provided to us.
Taking a look at the events for this gala night, I see that you're going to be honoring some notable Nigerians, Afe Babalola being among them, Prince Arthur Eze as well, for their contributions to the Nigerian business environment. Just to talk to entrepreneurs, because you did talk right now about our local consumption. One other thing locally that many people have been worried about is our ease of doing business here and our business environment, considering two major issues, of course, power and security. But let's talk a little bit about business people in Nigeria. How can they, get to the point where they are contributing so immensely to the economy, such that your agency is able to now take a look at them and say, look, these people have been very instrumental to the growth of our economy. How do we get more business people to be like the people you're going to be honoring at this event?
Yes, thank you very much. And I think for us, the individual and organizations we're going to be honoring, we've looked at them, sat down, had a panel to look at their contributions. And I want to probably hone in here an example of someone who has done fantastic, Afe Babalola, who we're honoring. We took a tour, an extensive tour of the Afe Babalola University, first-class university that he has established. But not only that, beyond that, the entrepreneurship program that they have, Afe Babalola University has an industrial park. And that industrial park has over 7 factories, giving value addition to various products. They have a cassava processing plant, fufu production, starch, pharmaceuticals, spices. This is great. It provides employment. It provides a training ground for students who are going through that place. They also have a farm where they grow what they need. They grow and process. So these are things that, it's providing opportunity in the complete value chain, and not only making profit for themselves, but also providing employment, also teaching the next generation of would-be entrepreneurs that will take advantage. So, it's a complete ecosystem, education, employment, training, and getting students ready for the next life, for the next stage of their life that will enable them to contribute to the economy of Nigeria. So, we're encouraging and calling on other entrepreneurs to look at this kind of, look at what Afe Babalola University and Afe Babalola himself is doing and calling on them. And so much more. Prince Arthur Eze, there's an oil and gas sector. There are major players who have contributed to the economy of Nigeria, both in Nigeria, in Sao Tome and Principe, where they're the major oil company there as well. We've also looked at agencies that were Nigerian Shippers Council, the custom, who have provided a lot of ease of doing business in terms of promoting trade. Of course, there are lots of impediments there, or challenges, I may call them. Power, logistic, good roads, getting your goods delivered on time for shipment, especially when you're looking at export. And then power, of course, without energy, there's nothing that you can really do. And for every increment percentage in energy availability in the country, or energy supply, provides about 3% increase in the GDP. This is proven, this is tested, so we need to look at that sector, which is really a big challenge for now. So for entrepreneurship, we encourage them in as much as there are challenges present opportunities. And this is our message, and this is what we encourage, and then we call on people to join the chamber. We have a lot of programs that are designed and detailed to helping to achieve the purpose and objective of businesses in Nigeria.
Yeah, it's interesting you say challenges present opportunities, because some people, I mean, you also highlighted the fact that you might be seeing advantages in the tariff regime. You want to say any that you could be seeing potentially?
Yes, of course. Presently, because of the various challenges in processes for export, margins for businessmen who are in exports are very, very thin. And then for products, prices are international. So where already you're working on sharp margins and then you're confronted with increment or tariff, you're confronted with a tax which is not there before, which either will give you an advantage. Then when that tariff is there, of course, it makes your product less competitive or even no profit at all in that sense. But then if you look at the opportunities will be to look at other products that we probably have comparative advantage and then see how you will, play in that. I'll give you an example of textile under the AGOA regime, where export under AGOA attracts zero tariffs. And then for other countries that are exporting, there are some tariffs that are as high as 23% going into the U.S. market. So if we are at 14% tariff, but we are still able to produce and get those materials into that market at 14%, we're still better off than those who are doing it at 23% and are probably faced with a higher tariff now, even though the tariffs have been paused, but we don't know what is going to happen and what level that is going to reduce to at the end of the day. So, but then government needs to do a lot more, revive our cotton and garment sector in general, which is one of the biggest employers of labor, and it's an ecosystem that involves so many, from production, from cotton to dye, to the sewing itself, to the making of the primary fabric and all of that. So it's to look at it and see which one we have very good comparative advantages and focus. And maybe it's 1, 2, 3, as against saying, okay, we have the potential to do all of this, but we're not doing anything in it. But if we focus on 1, 2, 3, and then, we can give it our best shot and do all that we need to do, and I can tell you it's very possible to achieve this.
Well, Mr. Sheriff Balogun, we have to thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. We wish you a very successful celebration as the Nigeria-America Chamber of Commerce, a very successful celebration, and you a very, very successful tenure as the new president of the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you once more for coming on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you so much for having me, Okwe. Thank you so much, Channels, and we hope to see you there at that event. And thank you for the good wishes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, we've been speaking with Mr. Sheriff Balogun, who is the national president, Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce. Well, we do have one feedback. Kayla, do you want to quickly take a look at that?
We have this message here from Pastor Law Alpha C. He says the Rivers admin should not be seen to be biased and lopsided in making appointments, knowing full well that two factions are in contention here. He's expected to operate within the boundaries of his appointment.
Well, great advice. Is where we leave it this beautiful Friday morning. We wish you a most awesome weekend. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your week. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
I'm Kayla Magwa. Enjoy your weekend and please be safe.